I'm more connected in the rural areas than I am in the city, I'm afraid. So I guess we'll have to wait and see how it develops.
Hello.
Hello, Mary.
Hi. I've never come in. I've never come in on a Zoom password by phone, and they made me. I had everything written down, but they made me add it twice. So I guess that's just to concur that you are the right person. So good. So I'm here, but I just decided it was easier to do it by phone. Because I needed to get my computer hooked up. So yeah.
Yep.
So I hope you get some people with that. Now how do you pay for this, Steve, or does it?
I have a monthly account, so.
Oh.
So I mean that's my choice. I mean, I recognize it doesn't work for everybody, but we'll just see how it goes.
Yeah, because you should actually, I mean, that should be that would be covered as an expense.
Yeah, well, like I said, if I ask, I probably will, but not.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I hear you. Yeah.
I saw that Maureen was coming in by Zoom or something.
Yeah.
Hi.
Oh.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yep, I can.
Okay, thanks, Steve. I don't know how to get my pic. Do you want my picture on there or not?
No, it's up to you.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I won't be offended, Maureen. I know who you are, so.
Okay.
It's all good.
I know, great.
So we'll get started here in a couple of minutes.
Okay.
So is it snowing down there?
Meeting?
Hang on a sec. Nope, it's not, Mary.
Oh, okay.
What was that, Maureen?
I said, who else do we have on the meeting? Does it matter? Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Do I need to know?
I've got my Area A director colleague, Mary Schustrom, is just observing this evening.
Oh, great.
And
Hi, Mary.
Hi.
I may have my Area F colleague come in as well this evening, but we'll see.
Good.
Steve and I share the border between south of Quesnel and where Steve's area starts. So we're neighbors in that way.
Oh, good. So I sure hope we have a few more, Steve, come in from Area D. Oh, here comes someone.
Yep. Hopefully, but we'll see how it goes. Evening, Rebecca.
Oh, she's on mute.
Yeah, that's okay. Oh, there she is. Okay, it's 7 o'clock, so I think I'll get started. If other people join, then they can partake in the conversation as we go along. So my name is Steve Forsyth. I am Director of Area D of the Cariboo Regional District. So that's the rural area north of Williams Lake. I would like to acknowledge the various Indigenous territories that Area D resides within, which is both Hatzel within Shuapmulu and also Estella within the Sukhothai Nation. I'd like to just quickly acknowledge one of my area director colleagues, Mary Schustrom. She represents Area A, Quesnel South, Red Bluff. So welcome, Mary, to the virtual town hall. It's great to have you here.
Thanks, Steve, and good on you for doing this.
Thanks, Mary. And I know my Area F colleague was hoping to come in this evening. That's Maureen Laborde, who represents 150 Mile House, Horsefly Likely. Director Schustrom and I share a northern boundary for myself before I go into her area, and then areas D and F share a boundary just east of Tyee Lake. So in terms of the agenda this evening, I'm just going to quickly cover some of the things I've been working on in 2022. And then I'll get into the budget. I'll cover just the regional hospital district budget first, and then the main regional district budget. Happy to take questions as we go along. For those online, if you want to ask a question, *9 raises the hand so that I know you wish to ask a question. *6 if you're muted. And for those on Zoom, if you look at the bottom where it says reactions, just press that button and hit raise hand, and I'll try to answer questions as we go along, or just blurt out, and happy to stop the presentation as we go along. So in terms of items I've been working on for Area D, roads is a continuous item that residents bring to my attention, but and I know that Shum will concur, she also gets these questions as well. So the item at McLeese Lake, the McLeese Lake Drainage Project, which I referenced last year, that is still in the works. The Ministry of Transportation has assured me they're going to ask for the funding. They're just not sure if they're going to get it. but they're going to give it their best effort. And I'm going to ask for an update from them in spring of this year. Just remind those on the line, this project goes from Fort Glen Road underneath Highway 97 and underneath Highway 97 to Duckworth Lake, and then across Highway 97 again down Soda Creek Townsite Road. In addition, I do get requests for various other side roads. Good evening, Director Laborde. Welcome to the Town Hall meeting. Great to see you. I get requests for individual side roads, which I do discuss with both MCON for those of you north of Deep Creek on Highway 97 North, and those of you south of Highway 97, so that would be Wildwood, Pine Valley, Fox Mountain, Soda Creek Road. Do reference those to the highway road contractors, plus talk to the ministry. For those of you in Soda Creek Valley, I have not forgotten about you guys with Soda Creek McAllister Road. That is an ongoing discussion. I know the ministry has been quite busy with various other highway and road projects throughout the province. If I could put on my NCLJ hat, we just had a meeting with Minister Rob Fleming in January, and I did reference Soda Creek McAllister Road. So we're continuing to put the pressure on and remind them that you can't forget about the little rural roads in rural BC. So we'll keep up the battle. I did hear a concern about a flooding project, which started in 2021 in Commodore Heights, not being completed. So I have talked to the ministry, and they're trying to make best effort to get that project wrapped up, but I'll keep people advised as we go along. The other one project, of course, is the old Wildwood School, which we've been trying since 2016 to get. I'm in continued contact with our local school trustee and Williams Lake City Councilor Angie Delaney. The school district, I understand, has filed all the paperwork, so it's just a case of making sure the I's are dotted, T's are crossed. And once that has been released from the school district, then the province has committed to me a process to get the school to get those lands into local community hands, so that we can decide how to best develop those lands for the best interests of the community of Wildwoods. But again, I'll keep people advised as we go along in the project. And I would be remiss if I didn't say I want to thank those of you in Area D this evening who are on the line. Thank you for allowing me to be your area director for 4 more years. It's a privilege I do not take lightly, and it's a great honor and a privilege to work for all of you. So I appreciate you and your vote of confidence in my abilities to serve you for another 4 years. So I will stop there for area director updates if there are any questions from anybody. Okay, I'm not hearing any, or if nobody in chat or signaling, then we'll move on to the thrust of the budget presentation this evening. So maybe what I'll do is I'll start with the budget process the regional districts uses, because this equally applies between the regional district and the regional hospital district. So every year, and starts in July, staff commence the process to develop the budget for the subsequent year. That gets us to about October. The budgets are submitted to various committees, depending on the subject, for input from elected officials. In the case of recreation and arts and culture, they are submitted to the 3 joint committees in Quesnel, Williams Lake, and Hunter House for review and recommendation back to the regional district board. Then in October and November, all of the budgets are reviewed by the full board meeting as a committee of the whole, which we call Finance Budget Committee. It's currently chaired by Area I Director Jim Glassford. So we've already gone through that. And then what happens in January is the Finance Budget Committee gives its approval in principle to submit the budget for public consultation, which is just wrapped up last week. And the public feedback will be submitted to the Budget Finance Committee on February, 23rd, where the board will, or sorry, where the committee will be asked to make a recommendation to proceed to budget bylaw for the 2023 budget. In early January, all of you in the rural areas would have received your notice of property assessment from BC Assessment. And of course, we all know that January 31st was the deadline to appeal your property assessment if you didn't agree with it. And then in March, late March, the board will adopt the final version of its budget bylaw for 2023 and then submit it to the province and our municipal partners in Wells, Quesnel, Williams Lake, 100 Mile House for their portion of the regional district requisition. And then, of course, by June 1st, all of you in rural areas will get your property tax bill from the province for 2023, which I know you'll duly pay, although I know that all of you would like to pay less than that if you could. So I'll start with that. So that's the budget process. Are there any questions about how we develop the budget? Okay, I'm not hearing anything. So we'll start with the regional hospital district. So the regional hospital district is a distinct body from the regional district. It was created under what's called the Hospital Districts Act several decades ago. The purpose of regional hospital district is to contribute 40% to hospital capital. So things like equipment used in hospitals, physical buildings, things of that nature. The board membership of the Cariboo Regional Hospital District is the same members of the Cariboo Regional District, so 12 area directors, A to L inclusive, as well as the 4 municipal directors from Wells, Quesnel, Williams Lake, 100 Mile House. And there's an additional director because of where the boundaries are in the principle of taxation with representation. The Thompson-Nicola Regional District Area E Director, Jim Smith, who represents the 70 Mile House Green Lake area, is also entitled to a seat on the board. The chair for the Cariboo Regional Hospital District this year is Area G Director Al Richmond, and it's a little bit ironic. I'm going to mention his next name. The vice chair of our Regional Hospital District Board is Mary Schustrom, who is on the line this evening. In terms of ongoing projects, 2 key ones that the Regional Hospital District is working on. GR Baker and Quesnel, there's been the upgrade to the ICU, ER, as well as the kitchen. The building, or that particular project, is scheduled to be completed sometime this year. And it started several years ago. So I can say on behalf of the board that we're looking forward to that being completed. In terms of CMH upgrades, the board has already approved its 40% contribution. Earlier today, the province announced that it has hired the primary contractor, which is based out of Calgary. If all goes well, the project is scheduled to be completed. It will start sometime this year and be completed by 2029. However, the budget has gone up from $217.5 million to $366 million. That's not entirely a shock, considering the price of construction projects has generally been going up over the last couple of years. Certainly one of the unfortunate side effects of the pandemic. But as I say, my colleagues and I are definitely totally supportive of this project. So we'll have to hope it doesn't go up any further. I don't have an exact date when shovels will go in the ground, but I just know it will be sometime in 2023. And of course, where I can publicly do so, I will share updates, and I know my colleagues will as well in the Williams Lake area as further construction updates are provided and are available. The Cariboo Regional Hospital District Board has not determined its 2023 tax rates yet. That will be done in March at the same time that we adopt the Regional Hospital District budget and the Regional District budget. And I know this comes up often, but I think I can safely say that the Regional Hospital District is acutely aware of the need for medical professionals, both in Williams Lake and Quesnel and 100 Mile House. And we do have a recruitment program underway in all those communities, and we try to do what we can to support the efforts of both Northern Health and Interior Health as we go forward. And of course, we advocate to the province, to the Minister of Health, making Minister Adrian Dix aware of those needs, and we'll continue to do so, I am sure, in the days, weeks, and months to come. So I will stop there on the Regional Hospital District, and if there's any questions, I'd be happy to take them. Otherwise, we'll can move on to the Regional District budget.
Steve, just a comment. After attending the Northern Health Board meeting on Monday, it'll be early spring when we hope to have be ready for the move-in as far as the renovations in Quesnel.
Thanks, Mary, and I appreciate that information.
The other thing that we talked extensively about was the recruitment, and certainly the model that we're using in Quesnel is a bit further ahead than the central and the south, but it is becoming a model that they're looking at for the rest of Northern Health. And I know that we're kind of in a position where we share Northern Health and Interior Health within the Cariboo Regional District. But that said, recruitment is really important, and I think we're moving forward in both, mainly in the center and hopefully in the south, that you know, we can get a similar program. Maybe not to include the housing, but just a similar program so that we can attract all professionals to the community.
Yep, definitely well said, Mary. And as you noted, we're definitely supportive of what efforts we can do for recruitment and retention, or recruitment to the Cariboo Regional District for sure. Anyone else on Regional Hospital District? Okay. Then I will move on to the Regional District. So just a reminder, these are just Area D numbers. If you are listening and you have questions about other electoral areas, I do encourage you to reach out to your area director or your mayor for anything impacting on other electoral areas and municipalities. So just start with administrative services. This is the function primarily that deals with director remuneration, staffing costs, and for those feasibility funds, which I'll get to momentarily here. So for electoral area administration, which is only paid by the rural residents, the tax rate has increased for 2023 from $21.54 for 100,000 of residential assessment to $23.69. As I said, part of this is a decision that a previous board made in respect of making sure that the tax decision of the federal government would not negatively impact on directors to come following that. Good evening, Chief Sherry. Welcome, and it's an honor to have you here. So thank you for coming. Administrative services is paid by both municipal and rural residents, and the rate has gone up from $5.40 to $5.40 per 100,000 to $6.07. Again, that pays for staff salaries, buildings, things like that. The feasibility fund, this is charged to every taxpayer in the regional district. That allows us to study new services that benefits all regional residents. There will be no increase because we have not tapped into this fund as of late. I will say on the question of new services, the Regional District Board is holding strategic planning sessions on February 21st, and I believe we are going to have 3 sessions. So that fund may be tapped in future years, but for this fiscal year, we won't be requisitioning any additional funds. On rural feasibility, we are going to increase taxation by 10 cents per 100,000. This fund was used last year to study potentially a new water system in Tatla Lake. Staff were asked to study the subject and to come back with a report, which we haven't received yet. But we'll have to wait and see how that goes. And just on rural feasibility, I'm just working with the community of Tyee Lake to study the feasibility of a new streetlight service to support a streetlight, which is at the bottom of Lynn Creek Road, where it connects with Highway 97. I am intending to ask my colleagues at the regional district for some funding from this particular service to study this. And once we've studied it, including the implication on taxpayers, I will be going to the community of Tyee Lake to share that information and see if they wish to proceed with the formal process or not. So those of you who are on the line from Tyee Lake, please stay tuned. But as I always do, I'll keep you informed. And governance, which is paying for all the director remuneration for the 16 directors, that is staying static at $1.69 per 100,000 of assessment. And that's all I have on administrative services. I'd be happy to take questions if there are any. Okay, I'm not hearing any questions, so we'll move on to airport services. So Area D is not a contributor to any 4 of these services, namely the Anaheim Airstrip that's in Area J, the Likely Community Services Airstrip that's out by Area F, no, not by Area F, my apologies, in Area F. The South Cariboo Regional Airport, which is supported by areas G, H, L, and the District of 100 Mile House. This is located in 108 Mile House. And then finally, the 4 electoral areas around Quesnel, areas A, B, C, and I provide some funding to the City of Quesnel for their airport. As I say, Area D doesn't contribute to any 4 of those, so I anticipate there won't be any questions. Okay, then we'll move on to contribution services. So there are, I think, about a dozen of these that fall under contribution services. However, I'll only mention the ones that apply to Area D. So first up is Central Cariboo Economic Development. This is supported by 5 electoral areas. Area D is one of the 5. The other areas are areas E, F, J, and K. They support projects to support economic development in the 5 electoral areas. Also supports things like, for example, tourism. Anyone watching behind me, that is a picture of the Hatzel Heritage Village. We do give $4,000 annually to Hatzel First Nation for support of the Hatzel Heritage Village, and they are free to use the money at their discretion. So we don't certainly tell them how to use the money. So I think that's just a fair contribution as to the fact that we want them to be successful. So it's just our way of showing our support for the village. The tax rate is not increasing this year. It is static at $2.74 per 100,000. The next service that Area D taxpayers contribute to is Central Cariboo Cemetery. This applies to the entirety of areas D, E, F only, and it's to support cemetery services. For Area D, primarily, this supports cemetery services through an MOU agreement with the City of Williams Lake, which has recently been renewed for another term, which I think expires the end of this current elected term of 2026. Central Cariboo Victim Services is, again, areas D, E, F, J, K. So whenever residents need support as a result of suffering through criminal activity, we have a contribution agreement with the City of Williams Lake. I think it's $26,000 as our contribution towards this program. And the tax rate is staying static at 79 cents per 100,000 of property assessment. Next is Central Cariboo Handy Dart. A portion of Area D is responsible for the service. So if you reside in Wildwood, Pine Valley, Fox Mountain, and what I would refer to as the residential area of Soda Creek Road, so just past West Fraser Mill, as you're heading down toward Louis Johnson Bridge, contributes to this service. It is $10,000 we give City of Williams Lake for for service hours. Handy Dart, of course, is not conventional transit, so it is meant to be used for medical appointments, so it is by appointment. And the tax rate is 78 cents per 100,000, and there is no increase from last year to this year because of the minor service that this provides. So that is it for contribution services in relation to Area D. I'd be happy to take questions if there are any at this time. Okay, then the next item I will mention now is development services. There are two aspects to this. Planning is one and building inspection is another. In regards to planning, there will be a 7-cent increase from 504 to 511. I will note this is a mandated service, so it is something that Regional District is required to provide. So this provides things like zoning and OC, Official Community Plan bylaw development, as I say, rezoning, and also development of and refinement of our rural land use bylaws. Building inspection is also included in this service category. All of Area D is included in this service. And the tax rate is going from $2.74 to $2.84. Like many of you and like many other local governments in British Columbia, we are experiencing negative impacts of the inflation. Even though at a high point it was 8%, it's now come down to, my understanding is about 6.5%. Yeah. So I'll stop with development services if there are any questions. Okay, not hearing any. So we'll move on to Director EA Administration. This is my Director Initiative Fund. So the Director Initiative Fund for each of the 12 areas, including Area D, is used, firstly, can be used to meet with provincial or federal cabinet ministers as long as I don't go against board decisions. Also can be used to attend what's called the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Conference, which is our federal local government advocacy arm. I have attended one FCM, I think it was 2017. I had the honor to attend FCM in Ottawa, and I have attended two virtual ones in 2020 and 2021. My intention is to attend the FCM in Calgary in 2024, but I'm not requisition. I am increasing requisition by 1 penny per 100,000, and that's just to replenish it back up to 5,000. So we will. I'll stop there if there are any questions, but that's the gist of what the fund can be used for. Okay, then I will go on to the next category, which we call emergency planning and search and rescue. Again, I'm only going to mention the services Area D contributes to. So firstly, Central Cariboo Search and Rescue. This is an entirety of areas D, E, F, a very small part of the northern portion of area G, and the entirety of the city of Williams Lake. Search and rescue, exactly as it sounds. It's land search and rescue, water search and rescue. Of course, we always appreciate their services if we need them. So the tax rate is going from $4.19 to $4.36 per 100,000 of residential assessment. Reason being is that they just need to replenish their equipment because it's timed out, and ropes is one of them that can only be used for so long before they have to be replenished. But it's not a big increase versus what we've seen in yesteryear. And the only other service that Area D contributes within this category is, of course, electoral area emergency planning. Again, this is a mandated service, so the regional district is required to provide it. Emergency planning helps with us doing our emergency plan, regional emergency plan, which I'm a member of that committee, and two of my elected colleagues, directors. Mary, can you remind me, are you on emergency preparedness committee? I can't remember if you are.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so two of my colleagues who are here with me this evening are both on the committee. So we're just working through our new regional emergency plan, and we're just waiting to see when the province introduces the new Emergency Program Act, and then we'll conduct a review of our emergency plan once the details are known. The tax rate is going up from $5.47 per 100,000 to $5.69 per 100,000, and that's just to make sure the program is funded appropriately for all the things we have to do. And I just want to put a shout out to Stephanie Mason, who is our Manager of Emergency Program Services, and I know my two colleagues would agree with this, that we are truly blessed to have Stephanie's wisdom and knowledge, and she does such a great job for everyone in the region. And I think we're truly blessed to have her wonderful abilities. And I know we three come to rely on her during the annual spring freshet, and as well as wildfires. Hopefully, knock on wood, we will have a quiet wildfire season. So I'll stop there for emergency planning and emergency search and rescue for any questions. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to environmental services. All three of the services I'm going to mention do, Area D is a participant. These are effectively, well, most of them I'll explain, but most of them are regional services that everybody participates in. So rural refuse is one of those services, not completely regional, but almost regional. So the participants for the service are everybody except for the city of Williams Lake and the city of Quesnel. So rural refuse is essentially where we operate the landfills in Quesnel, Williams Lake, sorry, not Quesnel, my apologies, where we have a partnership with Quesnel Williams Lake, but also the rural transfer stations in the electoral areas, as well as the landfill in 100 Mile House and the transfer station in Wells. The rate for this item is going from $39.10 to $39.85. And again, inflation is one of the things that we've just not been able to avoid, unfortunately. So we do need to try and stay ahead of that. And while we're on the subject of rural refuse, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that I'm hopeful, and I know my colleagues are going to agree with me here, I'm sure. We're hopeful to get out to talk to the residents about where do residents see solid waste going forward over the next 10 years. So we had hoped to start this last fall, but unfortunately, solid waste services staff didn't want to run into any potential elections. Now, of course, A, D, and F didn't have any elections in the last election cycle. but we did have elections elsewhere, but we just want to wait until that was done. So as soon as I know where these will be in Area D, I will certainly be getting the word out there so that we can get that feedback, because I always say to residents, I can't fix what you don't tell me is a problem. So hopefully we'll get that wonderful feedback and then make sure that our solid waste service is doing exactly what you want it to be. Solid waste management, rural refuse, this is the money we put aside so that when we develop the plan every 10 years, the money is in the bank. And it is proposed that the money, it's proposed to go from 7 cents per 100,000 to 8 cents per 100,000. And again, this is just putting money in the bank so that when we get to this next plan, sometime in the 2040s is when we have to rewrite the plan next after this cycle, then the money will be there. And invasive plant management, again, this is mostly all in except for Cornell's under contract, all electoral areas, and I think it's District of Wells, if I recall correctly, is in this function. And this is just deal with invasive plants like knapweed and the like. The rate is going from $1.88 per 100,000 to $1.95 per 100,000. And I'd be remiss as well if I didn't thank the Ministry of Transportation, Ministry of Forest for the money that we get from those ministries to help us out with this program. So that's all under environmental services. If there are any questions. Okay, I'm not hearing any. So we'll go to grants for assistance. So again, I'll just stay focused on Area D. This year for the main intake, Area D actually had nobody apply, only because right now we're trying to get the issue of being able to contribute to independent fire departments resolved. That's currently parked with UBCM, which I am a member until September through my work at the North Central Local Government Association. So until that's resolved, I won't be able to provide any grants to those two societies at Tidy Lake or McLeese Lake. But anyone that knows me knows that I'm passionate for my two independent fire departments. So hopefully we'll get that solved sometime soon. In the meantime, I did contribute some money to the Gavin Lake Forest Society that operates the camp at Gavin Lake. And I know my colleagues in the areas ENF did as well. As well, I have a year-round intake for grants throughout the year, or what we call discretionary fund of $5,000. This year, I won't be requisitioning any money because staff have advised me that there is sufficient funds for the $5,000 and the funds that I have granted to Gavin Lake for 2023. So there will be no taxation for grants for assistance. Are there any questions for grants for assistance for Area D at this time? Okay, we'll move on then to library, culture, and heritage. So library network actually has two tax categories. So this is a regional service. So for areas A through L inclusive, and that does include Area D, the tax rate is on the basis of improvements only. So land is pretty simple. Improvements are anything like your primary home, your shed, etc. And the tax rate this year is proposed to go from 1878 to 1944. Oh, sorry, I forgot. I should mention municipalities have to pay on the basis of land and improvements. There's nothing. One of the things that the library network is hoping to do this year is, this term, is hopefully to do a strategic planning session. And we'll look forward to see what CRD library staff bring forward in between now and 2026. Arts and culture. This is for Central Cariboo, so it's all of areas D, E, F, and City of Williams Lake. The tax rate is going from $3.84 to $3.91 per 100,000. One of the key drivers of this is we have agreed to increase our funding slightly for performances in the park in Britannia Park in Williams Lake for the remainder of this term. I know that this particular event in early July to end of August is heavily supported both in Williams Lake and the fringe communities just outside Williams Lake. So I'm happy that we were able to come to a long-term arrangement with the service provider, which runs through the Cariboo Arts Council. So I know the central directors certainly appreciate their efforts to make sure we have a great summer event after Stampede. And finally, Heritage. This is paid by the electoral areas only. And this is just to make sure things like driving tour throughout the regional district and the mapping that we do for that and whatnot. So the tax rate is going up to 9 cents per 100,000, and again, this is paid by all electoral areas. So I'll stop at Library, Culture, and Heritage if there are any questions. Okay, I'm not seeing any or hearing any, so we'll go on to Protective Services. Again, this is a capture all, but not all of the services in this category are paid by all of the electoral area D, so I'll specify which part of area D contributes, whether all or which communities pay. So for bylaw enforcement, this is all of area D. In fact, it's a regional service. All electoral areas pay into this service. Last year, the rate was $1.52 per 100,000 and is proposed to stay the same at $1.52 per 100,000. This is where if you're having a noise dispute with your neighbor, or you think your resident or fellow neighbor is breaking the rules, etc., and I get this usually fairly regularly in Pine Valley and elsewhere throughout the area, this is who residents would turn to adjudicate the complaint and hopefully get to resolution. The next service that Area D contributes to is Wildwood Fire Protection. So we have an agreement with Hatsuel for a cash contribution, and we thank Hatsuel for that, and we honor the arrangements we have with them, as well as all of Wildwood and the airport side of Fox Mountain. So if you live on Kemp Road on Fox Mountain and back towards Wildwood, that's who your fire department is. It is proposed that the tax rate for Wildwood Fire Protection goes from $89.68 to $96.19. I know some of you will have heard me reference I think it was $104 last year. As a result of the assessment base increasing, that just basically means that the tax rate can drop as long as our budget is covered. So that's why it's less than $100 this year. I will report that we did get the new fire truck for Wildwood, and so that would be paid back through a 10-year loan. So it should be paid off by 2032 if all goes well. That's right. Williams Lake Rural Contracted Fire Protection. This is for the front side of Fox Mountain. So those of you on Ross Road, Mason Road, portion of Mason Road, I should say, etc., in that area pay for this service, as well as Pine Valley and Commodore Heights and Soda Creek Road pay for the service. It's strictly a contract with the City Williams Lake Fire Department. So we just provide a cash contribution of, I think it's just north of $600,000 annually to the city of Williams Lake. It's partially to help pay for their fire hall and also their operations. The contract is up with the city actually next year, so I expect sometime this year we'll be addressing this topic to talk about renewing that contract in 2023 for another successful term. The tax rate for the service is going to go up from 74.12 to 75.60. Again, it's just to make sure that bill is covered going forward. And finally, 911 emergency telephone service. This is to support 911. All taxpayers in the regional district contribute to this service. This is by way of a contract between the Cariboo Regional District and the Regional District of Fraser Fort George. The Regional District of Fraser Fort George recently upgraded their 911 system to what's called Next Generation or Next Gen 911. So essentially what that means is you can eventually be able to text a request for help through 911 through text, and then that would get to where it needs to get to. We have invited representatives from the Regional District of Fraser Fort George to a future board meeting, which I think is at the end of March, to talk about their recent upgrades as well as continuing conversation elected officials have been having around ECOM 911 and their request for additional financial support for their operations province-wide. So I'm sure I'll be speaking on behalf of my two elected colleagues here. We look forward to having that conversation. And the tax rate is going from $3.87 per 100,000 to $3.98 per 100,000. So just on protective services, if there are any questions, happy to take those. Okay, then, oh, sorry, Maureen, go ahead.
Hi, Steve. Yeah, do we pay for Wildwood Fire Services? Fire protection at Ty Lake?
Nope, nope.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thanks very much.
Yep, you betcha. Okay, so we'll go on to recreation services. There are 5 services in this category. Area D only contributes to 2 of them, which I'll reference, and then I'll say which communities are impacted. So we'll go to Macleese Lake Community Hall. Only those who live in the Macleese Lake and Duckworth Lake areas contribute to the service. Historically, $15,000 has been contributed from the regional district to the Macleese Lake Recreation Commission Society. This is an independent society that operates the Macleese Lake Community Hall and related grounds. This was increased to $25,000 back in 2020 at their request. As far as taxation implications go, there will be no increase, so it will continue to be $8.65 per 100,000 of residential assessment. I do work with the Recreation Commission at Macleese Lake to source out different grants for the vitality of this facility, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention I really do appreciate the efforts of the volunteers there who have been really making a great effort to make sure the hall is used year round. Certainly when we get to summer, the site is packed every weekend with weddings. And the community hall has also recently started having bingo nights on Tuesdays, as well as Tuesday and Fridays, a little daycare sessions go on for all the young kids at Macleese Lake. So it's great to see the hall being used much more than it previously has. The only other service that Area D participates in respect to recreation is Central Cariboo Recreation. So those of you who live in Wildwood, Pine Valley, Fox Mountain, Soda Creek Road, past City Williams Lake boundary, as well as the entirety of the City Williams Lake contribute to this service. Primarily, this supports the Essler Sports Complex, where we have baseball and soccer facilities, of course. And the other one is, of course, the main Cariboo Memorial Recreation Complex in Williams Lake. So it's the pool and the and the Twin Ice Arenas. And of course, we are still paying back the loan we took out with voter approval for the upgrades to the pool back in 2014. So the tax rate for this particular service is going from $81.04 per 100,000 of residential assessment to $82.66. I think in terms of whole dollars, I think there was just a $67,000 increase, and that was just due to inflationary factors. Otherwise, the inflation wasn't as high as it has been recently. I'm sure we could have brought it into a net zero impact. But and I will say this relates to the partnership we have between the regional district and the city. The regional district owns the recreation complex in Williams Lake, but we have a management agreement with the city of Williams Lake, just like we do with, or we see with the agreement in Quesnel between the city and the regional district. This management agreement is actually up next year. So sometime in 2023, we will be having this conversation about renewing that contract. So details to follow in that regard. In respect of recreation services, if there are any questions, I'd be pleased to take them at this time. Okay, not seeing any. We'll move on to streetlight services. So there are, I think, a dozen or so streetlight services throughout the regional district, including some that my two counterparts from areas A and F contribute to partially. So for area D, we'll start with Pine Valley Street Lighting. And there's been a reduction this year, the only reduction this year. So the rate is going down from $18.90 per 100,000 to $18.05. One of the drivers for that decrease is actually BC Hydro has been mandated by the federal government to replace their street lighting because it doesn't comply with environmental regulations that the federal government passed a number of years ago in relation to PCBs. So this is essentially, the lights are being upgraded to LED. This is a multi-year program and supposed to be completed by 2025 when the PCB rules fully kick in. The next streetlight service in area D is I put that. I'm sorry, I don't have the oh, just hang on. I'm sorry, I don't have the numbers for Commodore, Pacific Road, and that I apologize. I'm usually quite more prepared than this. I will say the rates are not expected to increase by more than a marginal amount. For those of you in Wildwood, I am trying to get Wildwood West Coast and Pacific Road services merged into one service, because right now there's a differential between what Pacific Road residents pay versus West Coast Wildwood. So just working with staff to see how that can be facilitated, and also keep residents informed in that regard. But I will say streetlights generally is a flow-through service, so we don't make any money on this one. So whatever BC Hydro charges us, we're just passing the bill along because residents have asked for that particular service. Are there any questions on streetlight services within Area D that anyone has questions on? Okay. And before I leave streetlights, I just want to just re-emphasize there may be a new streetlight service as for Tally Lake, but again, it is subject to voter assent. And if that is indeed the case, there will be a new streetlight service entered under for Tally Lake. But again, I have to talk to the residents about the implications and receive their approval. So stay tuned. The last item under budget is the regional district operates a number of water and sewer services throughout the regional district. Two of my colleagues who are with me have utilities. So me and Director Schustrom are among the 5 area directors who have sewer systems. And Director Laborde doesn't have sewer, but she has water system out at Lexington, which of course is just south of Williams Lake. So again, I'll just be referencing the 2 sewer systems in Area D. So the first one, of course, is Wildwood. This is funded through 2 different ways. The first is it's funded through a parcel tax. So last year, let's see here. Oh. Last year was a 108, and it's while it's going up to 113, and this is a flat tax, so it's not based on assessment, it's just a flat charge. In Pine Valley, there is no tax of any sort, so no parcel tax, no land tax, strictly user fee. So just go back quickly to Wildwood. The user fee for Wildwood is $220. Was $220 last year. It is increasing by $11 to $231. Again, inflationary cost is a primary driver for this item. I can assure you, my colleagues and I don't like increasing costs any more than we must, but this is something that we're handling, and we just have to charge accordingly. In terms of Pine Valley, last year the bill was $534. That's 100% user fee funded. Unfortunately, as much as I have tried to lessen the pain this year, we do have to increase it by $44. The system makes use of a gravity system, which has to be pumped uphill because we have an arrangement with a farmer on Fox Mountain. There's also a contribution from the city of Williams Lake because we provide sewer services to the city of Williams Lake for their airport. One of the goals for 2023 and possibly 2024, depending on where this plays out, we are looking at a sewer system upgrade capacity study, and that will form the basis of making sure that system upgrades keep pace with residential requirements and also what we need for sewer system capacity, both at the Cariboo Fire Center and the Williams Lake Regional Airport. In my discussion with staff, we agree that Williams Lake needs to contribute something to this project. So I've already talked to Mayor Srinapal Rather about this item, and he concurs that discussions need to take place. So once we have the capacity system completed, then we will be approaching the SAFE for a contribution as well as from the province for the Cariboo Fire Center. But I'm hoping to find a grant to cover the entire thing so we don't have to necessarily scrap over the bill. But that's it for utilities. If there are any questions. Okay, so that ends my presentation. And as I always do, I'm happy to take any questions at this time for any subject that residents just want to ask. So the floor is open to anyone who wants to ask me a question as the Area D Director. Okay, so I'm not seeing any. So just some wrap-up comments. Those of you who joined this evening, including Krupi, Sherry, I thank all of you for coming this evening. And again, there is still time if you want to provide your feedback by email. Just a reminder, the email address is mailbox at cariboord, that's one word, .ca. So that's mailbox at cariboord.ca. And the information will then make its way to the entire board as we consider final steps before we adopt their budget in late March. So last chance for any questions or comments or concerns. Okay, we'll call the wrap then. Again, thank you for everyone for coming out this evening, and I wish you well on this Wednesday evening. So have a great night. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.